Hello, my spooky friends, and happy Halloween. In today's video, we are going to be doing a flip through of my Halloween seance journal. I am a huge fan of haunted houses, witches, black cats, ghosts and goblins, all the good, creepy, eerie, spooky stuff that Halloween has to offer. And I do love a good seance in a haunted house kind of story. So I decided this year I would totally indulge my love of all things creepy and create a specific seance journal. And I had, I must say, way too much fun. I absolutely love doing this. So I wanted to share this with you and do a little bit of a flip through, and I hope that you will enjoy this as much as I did putting it together. So here we have our main character, Miss Finch. She has been invited to the seance, to this house, and it's way up on a hill under a full moon. It's Halloween night, and it's very dark. She's all by herself, and she really doesn't know what to expect. So she gets up, and she sees the house. She's a little bit nervous, but she's also excited to see what's going on. On a dark Hallows Eve night, something peculiar happened. And then what I did was I turned a lot of the images into pockets so that I could go in and make some notes on the back of these tags. I sort of have the whole dialogue figured out in my head, and I was thinking a lot about these things as I was creating the images and putting the images together and trying to figure out how I wanted this story to go along. But I am going to go back and make some notes so that I think I'm going to do this again, and I'm definitely going to do this on my Halloween channel, which will probably turn into a bit of a gothic channel after Halloween. So I just want to make some notes for myself so that I can remember some of what I was thinking as I was creating this. So our lovely young lady goes up and she knocks on the door, and she's greeted by this ominous butler. And of course the door is very creaky when he opens it up. And yes, it's quite frightening. And he lets her into this dark hallway and shuts the door with a grand echoing boom, and it echoes throughout the hallway. And she's starting to wonder just exactly what she's gotten herself into. As the butler closes and locks the big heavy doors behind her, Miss Finch reaches into her black handbag with her black lace-gloved hand and produces the invitation that she received in the mail. This invite was extremely unexpected, but she is most intrigued and certainly could not resist the invitation. It says she is invited to a seance at the home of Mr. and Mrs. Algernon Lovecraft, 13 Witch Tree Road in Old Malton, October 31st, 1893. After taking Miss Finch's coat and hat, the butler leads her up various flights of stairs, and she makes her way towards a lighted room, hearing voices that sound friendly in nature. There is, yes, a spooky vibe, but she feels as she moves towards the entrance to this room that she's about to walk into something that maybe is not quite as frightening as she originally anticipated. But she goes in, eyes wide open, ready for anything, for she has never been in a situation like this before. She has no idea what to expect. And as she makes her way through the house, she does feel an odd presence that moves with her, perhaps even beside her, as she walks into the living room ahead. One of the things that captures Miss Finch's attention almost immediately is the smell of burning sage. For the room has to be cleaned and cleared of all negative, evil, or distrustful energies that could be possibly lurking in this beautiful red parlor that she is currently standing in the middle of at the moment. As she looks around, she is taken aback by all the lights, the candles, the oil lamps, the beautiful furniture, the art that covers the walls, the large, luxurious curtains and drapes, The warm fire radiates from the fireplace. There's an overall sense of warmth and well-being in this room, despite feeling an eerie sense of something unknown. Her fears are put to rest for the moment. She feels at ease. She starts to let her guard down, and she does feel that she could actually possibly be comfortable in this room. The candlelight is warm and inviting, and she looks forward to meeting the fellow sitters at the seance as well as her hosts. And as she looks around the room, and she suddenly hears the warm, tiny little meow from a black cat. And of course, she is welcomed by the presence of this cat, for Miss Finch is a cat lover after all. And how fitting that the cat be a black cat. And as she stoops down and gives the kitty a warm little brush on the cheek and a little rub between the ears, she is comforted by the cat's presence. And yes, you guys know I love to add mice to cat things in my journals. So Miss Finch continues to look around the room, taking in all the sights, the smells, and she is taken by this very gothic, odd-looking carved turnip, because before pumpkins, of course, they carved turnips. She's a little taken aback by the eerie grin of this turnip. And while she is unsettled by this unnatural look that she gets from the turnip, she is comforted by the strange earthy smell that comes from the burning candle within inside this turnip. As Miss Finch continues to scrutinize and check out this strange but opulent and beautiful room, she is happy to see in the corner a lovely tea service that includes tiny little sandwiches, tiny little cakes and cookies, and a big silver teapot full of hot tea, which offers her accoutrements of lemon or honey or sugar or milk to add to the tea. And she happily accepts a very hot cup of tea, and she begins to look around her surroundings once more. And on this beautiful table in the middle of the room with a gorgeous red velvet tablecloth, she is curious about the objects that she sees on this table and walks over to take a closer look. She sees a Bible, and she sees a pretty little silver bottle on a pretty silver tray that is full of smelling salts. And she wonders to herself who might need these objects while they engage in tonight's seance, and if she herself could possibly need to reach for the Bible, or maybe faint, and somebody perhaps would have to use the smelling salts to revive her. And as she sips her hot cup of tea with honey and lemon, she also sees and quite shyly but also interestingly looks at the objects from dearly departed loved ones of the people at this seance tonight. We have a gold locket, a tray with gloves and hankies, and of course a lock of hair, perhaps will be used to invoke and bring in spirit from loved ones who have parted from this earth. And as she continues to walk around the room, she is happy to see the two lovely hosts, Mr. and Mrs. Lovecraft themselves, standing by the warm fireplace and in the glow of an oil lamp. And she is greeted warmly by these two strangers who she's never met, but she is very much happy and expresses her gratitude in her invite to this very special seance, although she still is a bit curious as to why she has indeed been invited here. And as we flip the page, we get a glimpse of Miss Finch herself. And there seems to be a ghostly cast behind her, and as she looks at herself in the mirror, she wonders if the eerie presence that she felt before could actually be around her, or perhaps it's her imagination. And she does feel a tiny bit of a shaking of her feet within her boots. And beside her is Marge Moritze. And Marge is the medium for this evening. She will be the lady casting and opening up the seance tonight, calling in the spirits from beyond the grave and will be communicating with those who perhaps will arrive. And she senses Miss Finch's perhaps fear, but maybe just more a bit of uncertainty. And she takes her hands in hers and assures the young woman that everything indeed will be fine, and there's nothing to worry about in tonight's seance. And she thinks to herself, I hope nothing goes wrong tonight at the seance. And lastly, Miss Finch is introduced to a very ominous couple, Mr. and Mrs. Adams. And she does the math as she looks around and realizes there will be 6 people sitting around for the seance this evening. Sadly, Mr. and Mrs. Adams lost their young son to tuberculosis last year, and they're hoping that perhaps the young chap may make an appearance at tonight's gathering. The time has come for everyone to be seated around the large red velvet table. Miss Finch asks everyone to hold hands tightly and not let go during the entire events of the evening, no matter what happens. She stresses the importance of this circle that binds them together with held hands, for it is this bond of energy that will help keep them safe in the night. The butler places a 1-hour hourglass on the table so they are able to keep track of time without needing to check watches, pocket watches, and certainly they will not be able to see clocks in the dark while the seance is being conducted. It is at this point that the butler appears from the shadows and places a ledger and a quill in front of Miss Finch, and she is informed that she and she alone will transcribe the events of tonight's seance, and she will not be holding hands and be in a protective circle. She will indeed be on her own, and now she must keep her wits about her as she transcribes and records all that takes place during tonight's seance. So now we set the mood and the tone, the opening of the seance, location, the parlor of Mr. and Mrs. Lovecraft, Old Malton, October 31st, 1893. Marge asks that everyone sits quietly, holding hands, breathing deeply. Do not fidget or fuss. She asks that they release any doubt or suspicion. It is 7:45, and the room now is dimly lit by candle and oil lamp. Curtains are drawn, and a soft hush settles as the sitters clasp their hands together around the table. Do not disturb it with fear, she instructs, and nor invite mockery. Take a low breath. Feel the rhythm of your own heart as it beats in time with each soul at this table. At 7:47, she declares, we are gathered in earnest seeking, not for spectacle, but for communion. Should any spirit wander close, we offer him this light, this warmth, and this circle of well-being. We open the door between our world and yours. We summon no one by force, but welcome all who mean us well. May peace dwell in this circle and speak truth through willing hands. Each sitter repeats the trembling unison instructed by Marge. At 7:45, she declares, I feel the door between our world and theirs has opened. We summon no one by force, but welcome all who mean us well. May peace dwell in this circle and truth speak through willing Marge, hands. The medium, declares there is nothing here to fear. Mr. Lovecraft chimes in, please do guide us, madam. And the medium Marge reminds everyone, let us clear our minds of all idle thoughts. Now we join hands at the table. Think only of our desire to commune with the beyond. Yes, we shall speak to the departed, declares Mr. Lovecraft, medium. says, "Silence now. Let our minds be open to the unknown. We wait for spirits who would emerge from beyond the veil." And suddenly, out of nowhere, the silver bell sitting on the table starts to ring on its own accord. Ring, ring, ring. But how can this bell be ringing in this dark room when everyone is holding hands and Miss Finch has her quill in her hand and nowhere near the bell? Meanwhile, in the hallway, there is a young housemaid who runs down the hallway, leans close into the door, for she too hears the bell ringing. Curiosity gets the better of her. She desperately wants to know what's going on. She leans down and peeks through the keyhole, trying desperately to see what's happening in this dark night, in this dark room. Will she see ghosts and goblins? She can't quite tell, but she leans in closer and listens to the invocation of the veil, read aloud by the medium. Light of flame and breath of night, open the veil to second sight. By glass and smoke, by thread and chime, bridge now the distance, unbide time. By heart and hand, by voice and will, we call the quiet, the restless, the still. If peace you seek, draw near this light and speak through us this hallow night. Back in the parlor, the sitters are starting to sense that they are not alone in this room, that there is an unearthly presence here. And suddenly there are 3 knocks, hard raps on the table. Knock, knock, knock. And they look around, for they sense that something is different, but they cannot see it. The medium senses fear, and she decides to chant 4 steadfast hands. Steady the flame, steady the air, fear not the whisper nor the stare. Hands entwine the circles bound, what's within shall not be found. Heart to heart and breath to breath, we call on calm, not on death. If they draw near, let them see, we will meet them with serenity. Hold the line and do not part. No spirit feeds on a trembling heart. Peace in light, peace in mind. What we seek, we shall find. Marge's chant worked. Calm prevails over the table. Fears subside, and they resolve to move forward in earnest, for it is their desire to make contact with those from beyond the grave. Their intention, their full intention of this night, is to make contact, to communicate with the dead. And as they sit and they allow themselves the ability to breathe deeply and to find calm, they realize that they have indeed achieved their goal. Once again, there is a disturbance in the room. In the corner, there is an obvious apparition, and all eyes focus on the glowing, translucent movement in the corner. There is a foreboding nature to this presence. All 6 of them sit at the table, eyes wide open, waiting, wondering what will happen with this apparition. Will it speak? Will it come towards them? What will happen next? They wait with bated breath to see what happens next, and this apparition suddenly takes the form of a young woman. And they do wonder if perhaps some of the trinkets on the table might have belonged at one point to this young woman, and has she come back from the dead seeking answers? And suddenly, without warning, this ghost makes her way directly towards Miss Finch, and Miss Finch can feel her cold, unearthly breath across her face. And when Miss Finch opens up one eye, she realizes it is not a beautiful young ghost that is standing beside her, but an old, haggard crone. What has happened to this spirit? Who is this ghost, and why does she have to be so close and so interested in Miss Finch? Of course, we will never know, for just as quickly as she appeared, she disappeared into the night. And as the sitters all try and take in what they have just witnessed, they realize that the toy truck on the table starts to move on its own, back and forth and back and forth. And they wonder, who could it be? Who has come to move this toy truck? Then, without warning, Mrs. Adams screeches out her son's name and asks if he is there. And sure enough, the ghost of her son, taken far too soon from her, appears in the room. And she reaches out to touch him and asks if he is okay. And in a soft, quiet voice, he says, oh so clearly to his mother, I'm okay. Do not worry about me, Mummy. And then he disappears back into the ether, and there is silence. Silence in this room like they have never heard. The silence is deafening. The circle has been broken, and so now the seance comes to a close. Marge, the medium, speaks. The hour grows late. We thank those who have joined us from beyond the veil. You may rest now. There is a long pause. Again, the air is too still, and a single candle continues to gutter. Mr. Lovecraft speaks. Have we broken the circle? Marge, I feel not yet. One still may linger. Mrs. Lovecraft speaks up. One of us? There is a faint rapping sound again. 5 knocks in slow succession. The planchette on the table starts to shift. Miss Finch reads out what has been spelt. Do not leave. There are gasps. The flame flares bright and then steadies. Marge, the medium calls out. Who speaks? Identify yourself. And the planchette jerks violently, scraping the table. I am here. Mr. Lovecraft. The air. Good heavens, it's gone cold as the grave. Suddenly, a chair creaks, though no one moves. Mrs. Lovecraft, did anyone? My hand. Someone's holding my hand too tightly. Again, the candles flicker, though there is no draft. Then silence. Marge, the medium whispers, ever so quietly, the circle is broken. There is a final knock, then the faint sound of footsteps ascending to the stairs, although all have remained seated. We can now refer to Miss Finch's closing notes titled The Mirror and the Guest. Mr. Lovecraft went to draw back the drapes, and in the reflection of the glass, he saw 7 seated figures. Yet all 6 of us remained in the room. The 7th looked directly at me, pale, unblinking, and for one long breath, it did not fade. Then, as the lamplight wavered, it was gone, like smoke in the sunlight. And here, as we look at the table, we do count 7 seats. Not 6, but 7. Where did the 7th seat come from, and who was sitting there? As the guests ponder this revelation, Mr. Lovecraft does indeed get up, pull back the shades and the curtains, and yet there is still an unearthly mist that lingers in the room. Miss Finch looks over at the table, at the candlesticks that are just nothing but melted wax, and Mr. Lovecraft gets up and offers each and every sitter a very welcomed stiff drink. The butler comes back into the room, relights the candles, lights the oil lamps, and all 6 of the sitters stare and look at each other and slowly begin to talk and offer suggestions, ideas, and thoughts about what happened here in this room on October 31st, this haunted night of All Hallows Eve. Mr. and Mrs. Adam begin to smile through their tears, for now they know that their son is indeed at peace, and they fear for him no longer. And despite their unnerving and curious encounters, a sense of excitement begins to come back into the room, and Mrs. Lovecraft asks that the butler go and fetch more refreshments. And as he opens up the door, he screams himself in absolute shock and horror. For what he finds on the other side of the door is the absolute shocking scene of the young maid who was peeking in the keyhole. She lies dead, stone cold dead, on the floor in the hallway. They look at each other back and forth in absolute disbelief. How could this have happened? And of course, the question that looms, who did this? Mr. Lovecraft speaks up. How on earth could this have happened? And Mrs. Lovecraft looks at him and suggests in a very shaky voice, do you think that it could have been the 7th entity that was in the room? Well, my lovely friends, we are not going to know the answer to this question this evening. You will have to stay tuned and see and find out what happens in the next installation of my haunted house seance adventure. I hope that you enjoyed that Halloween tale of ghosts and goblins as much as I did. I had a really fun time putting this journal together, and even more fun putting the video together for you guys. If you are interested in this kind of thing on any level, you might also want to check out my channel, my Halloween, which will now be my more gothic channel, called Where Midnight Looms. If you like this kind of thing, I think you might like my new channel, Where Midnight Looms, where I will be indulging my love of things all dark academia and gothic, and keeping the Halloween vibe alive all year round. So I would like to thank you very much from the bottom of my dark, creepy little heart. If you made it this far in the video, I very much appreciate you spending this time with me, and I really do hope that you enjoyed that. I absolutely had a blast putting this together, from the video and the narration to putting the journal together itself. I enjoyed it immensely. So everybody, happiest of happy Halloweens to all of you. I hope that you have a great Halloween, and yeah, I'm gonna leave it there. If you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up. I would very much appreciate that. And as I say at the end of all my videos, creepy or not, speak kindly to yourselves, enjoy your own unique, perhaps dark and spooky journal process, and until the next video, take care everybody, and I will talk to you soon. Mwah! Bye. Friends, here is a quick look at the nighttime. Ooh, she looks good. She looks good. The light might be a little bit close. I'm not sure. We'll have to play with that a little bit tomorrow. I need a little bit more lighting up here, so I'm going to get another red spotlight. we moved the witchy poo, of course, to the back. She still looks great back there. The sand snake looks great, although you can't really see his tail. So I think I need two white spotlights. Witchy poo needs a little bit better light closer up to her, shining up. And the scarecrow in the back, you can't see him at all. So that's what I'm going to work on tomorrow. And the cat looks great. And yes, I think the cat needs a little bit of light coming from the inside as well. So, but anyways, just a few more details, but this is pretty much it. With the exception of the clock, everything big is out. We just need to work on the lighting a little bit, and I will do that tomorrow. And yeah, it looks really good.